Not starting yet, right?
Oh, it's going.
I want to pretend I took some LSD.
Close enough. Thank you so much for joining us today at Riches and Rags podcast. My name is Tyler DeLo.
And my name is Val De La O.
Thanks again for joining me today. I appreciate you.
You're welcome. And thank you for inviting me. You know, I get, it's becoming a routine for me because I show up at the same time, same hour, sometimes a different day. But I'm kind of looking forward to it. Frankly, we don't know what we're going to talk about. By the way, I got a phone call the other day.
Oh, speaking of phones, let me put mine on silent. That's a good call. What was your phone call about?
I called a lady. She called me, and I don't know where she got my phone number, but anyway, she called me. My phone number is all over space, and because when I was practicing my business, everybody had my phone. So they saw me on this thing. And
on this podcast?
On the podcast.
Oh, cool.
And they called me and they said, "Ooh, I finally get to see you again on TV."
Heck yeah.
And so they were very complimentary, and they asked me a few questions, and they said, "How do we arrive at what we're going to talk about?" I said, "I don't. Just comes in a fortune cookie, and we start leading into certain things. Next thing you know, we're talking."
You just have so much to talk about, we don't really even need a prompt.
Oh, my goodness. We could talk the whole year and never give out.
And yeah.
And so anyway, I explained to her a little bit what we were doing, and she said, "I'm going to keep listening to you guys," and that sort.
Do you know where she listens? Is it YouTube? Or is it...
She just enjoyed it, but I didn't ask her the media where she was picking it up.
Okay.
But she enjoyed it. She said, "I listened to you for I don't know if the whole thing, but I know that she was listening to us, and she found it interesting."
Yeah, so anyone else who wants to maybe find us, if you're listening on YouTube and you want to listen on Spotify or Google Podcasts, I have syndicated the podcast on Spotify and Google Podcasts. The easiest way is Riches and Rags, and then type De La O right after that. So you could type Tyler De La O, Riches and Rags, or Riches and Rags of Al De La O. And the more that we put up, the more that'll start showing up. So you can choose to listen to that on YouTube, Spotify, Google Podcast, all that is available.
Well, good. So at least we have one listener that I know of.
Yeah, we have a handful, like a decent room of people.
We have a few. It's interesting to hear that people listen to you, because sometimes I don't find myself very interesting. And I say to myself, why would people listen to you, or why would... but then I realize that we do have something to say. We don't know what we're going to say, but we have something to say.
Everybody does. Everybody's got
Everybody has
something to say.
A story. And everybody, they say that everybody has a book in their mind. We could write a book about you, and certainly we can write a book about me. And in fact, I am writing a book.
Are you?
Yes.
Right now you're writing a book.
I'm writing a book.
An autobiography?
Right.
Oh, wow.
I don't have too many pages yet. I have about 50 pages.
Okay.
But I'm lazy. I don't know why I don't get the inspiration to write, because years ago I used to write a lot. I used to write songs, and I used to write jokes. I used to write comedy acts, that sort of thing.
Do you write the book by hand, or do you type it out on your computer?
I write it by hand because I'm not well-versed in you young people in computers and stuff like that. But I do have a secretary that will come in and type it on the computer, and we print it out. And I used to write a lot of jokes years ago when I was doing my show. In fact, I was in California one time, and I had lunch with Dick Clark. I don't know if you know who Dick Clark is.
The name sounds very familiar.
Dick Clark was the inventor or the author, or producer of American Bandstand. It was a very popular show all over the United States, and they used to have dancing, and they used to have all kinds of stars and celebrities, mostly musical people, and they would go there and sing their songs or whatever. The latest, Linda Ronstadt, Trinity Lopez, whatever it may be. And Dick Clark was very, very popular, very wealthy man too. He was also in the $1,000 pyramid, many programs. Anyway, I went to see him one time, he and I and a friend of mine, and we had lunch with him in his office. But the story that I was going to tell you, maybe I have told it to you before, is that we kept talking for about an hour and a half, and then he said, I think that you would be good for comedy writing. And he offered me a job as a comedy writer. Not him personally, but he said he had all kinds of connections there in Hollywood, and he said, I could get you a job as a comedy writer. And would you like that? And I said, not really, because I didn't want to leave New Mexico. Big mistake, but I didn't leave New Mexico. And
where was the relocation point? Was it California?
It was Hollywood at that time, and I didn't want to move to California. I didn't particularly like California per se. I didn't think it was conducive to raising a family there. I don't know why. It could be wrong. But I didn't do it. Maybe it was a big mistake because, you have to follow the opportunities in life. And I also had a chance to move to Los Angeles one time because my show was in syndication all over the U.S., and I went to see Channel 34 in Los Angeles, who happened to be the Spanish channel for all that region. It was one of the most popular and powerful TV stations. And it so happened that I knew the owner of Channel 34, or one of the owners, Frank Faust. And Frank saw a sample of my show, and he said, I'm not interested in your show, but I'm interested in you. Would you like to come to work for me? I said, in what? I don't know. He says, just come to work for me, but I'll give you a good job, most likely on the air because you're good on the air. And I probably would have ended up in news or maybe another program there produced in California. But again, I didn't do it. Big mistake. You have to follow the opportunities. And I didn't do it. And here I am, just a small little millionaire instead of a big millionaire. I'm not Bill Gates.
No, that's billionaire status.
That's
a whole nother caliber. Millionaires are pretty common in this country, actually.
Yeah, there's a lot of rich people in this country. The other day I saw a report there's like 2,100 billionaires in the United States. I'm talking not millionaires, billionaires with a B.
It's a lot of money.
Very, very wealthy people. And I always ask myself, what do they do with all that money?
Well, I know how they're making some of it. Have you heard of cryptocurrency?
I heard about it.
Yeah, I'm trying to educate myself. Actually, I'm looking into NFTs, which are non-fungible tokens. So imagine, you buy a piece of art from like an art vendor or like a museum. They'll give you a certificate of authenticity, right? That says this piece of art is real. So the code, you can attach it to images, you can attach it to all kinds of different things, but basically it's verifiable on the blockchain. You can prove that somebody owns something based on tracing it back to its origin. So people are creating value on like digital real estate. They're making like crazy clothing you can wear in the digital world. Would you ever buy a digital shirt?
I don't even know what it is.
Yeah, that's tough. Imagine there's a digital you in the computer, and you need to dress him. And imagine that shirt that you put on your digital you can actually give that digital shirt to someone else, and they can prove that it was your shirt. So let's say like we make a series of NFTs about this show. We make like 1,000 of them. We can prove that there's only 1,000, and then people will trade them around, and money's built that way. It's whack. That's just what I've been thinking about this last 24 hours.
That's way, God knows where. Well, that's you guys. You're young and good-looking and get tremendous imagination. I don't know where this is going to. I think of my world, of what I grew up, and And I thought it was an interesting world, but you guys, the young people, are making it even more interesting, which I do not understand, and I never will, because I don't have the capacity or the youth or the interest, frankly, in understanding it. I still think of movies as, Ben-Hur and the Ten Commandments and stuff like that. And you guys have these movies now, that real funky type of movies that I frankly don't like. And it's not because they're not good, it's just that I do not understand them. A lot of the things that young people are doing, I do not understand.
Yeah, me too. I don't understand a lot of what is going on out there too.
Your brother Ryan is involved in that thing, isn't he?
He's starting up a company. I'm not going to really talk about much of it. I don't know much of it. He doesn't tell me much. But one of the guests I'm going to have on is one of his business partners. So it's pretty neat. It's like imagine the internet when it came out, how it completely changed everything, and then they called social media Web 2. That changed everything. Well, now the way people are starting to use this technology, it's like another internet. Like everything we do, from our healthcare system to the concerts we go to the stuff we collect.
Obviously going to be a lot of billionaires made through that endeavor, for lack of a better word. But
did you when you were a kid, was there credit cards yet? Was there digital money? Was there credit cards, debit cards? Could you swipe plastic when you were a kid, or was it still greenback cash, coins, maybe a check?
I really the checks. Obviously, I remember because my father used to write a check now and then, but. At least in my environment, we were poor people. We would consider ourselves poor. Although poor, you have to define what the word poor means. Does poor mean that you don't have any food to eat? Does food mean you don't have any shelter or clothes or whatever? We were not poor in that regard. My father and my mother were very good providers. We were poor in the sense that we didn't have fancy automobiles. We didn't have big houses. We didn't have lots of money to spend on vacations or stuff like that. My dad was a farmer. He worked very hard for very little money, but they were very good parents. I'll tell you the type of parents they were, though. They gave me a good upbringing. I'm an older person, and to this day, somebody called me the other day, and they were qualifying for something I don't remember, and they were very surprised that I have never gotten I've gotten only one traffic ticket in all my life.
Wow.
And that was about 40 years ago for speeding 10 miles over the speed limit. I have never been arrested.
Wow.
I've never been in jail.
Wow.
I've been drunk one time, and I got drunk on purpose, only because I wanted to find out how it felt.
How did it feel?
It didn't feel good, because I remember that I threw up.
How many times?
2 or 3 times.
Okay.
I vomited. And
Where did you throw up? Did you have the decency of a bathroom, or were you just like
in
front
fact,
of everybody?
I was driving from a party. My wife was driving a car because I couldn't drive, and I had her stop the car along the curve. And I remember I opened the door and I heaved, or I threw up outside the car. Luckily, I didn't throw it inside the car. But it wasn't. But I wanted to know what it felt like. And when I went home and I went to bed, I could feel the ceiling just turning around and around. And I said to myself, I'll never do this again. And I never did. But there's a lot.
Yeah, not all of us are that lucky.
Have you ever gotten inebriated?
Yeah. Oh, many times. Yeah. Became a problem. I don't drink anymore. I'm actually 2 months away from sobriety from alcohol. So haven't drank.
So that's a kind of education. That's a kind of training, and that's a kind of upbringing that I had with my parents. We also went to church, and I still do. And I'm a little disappointed sometimes in the younger people because they don't seem to have religious parameters.
They're showing too much of that ankle right?
No, that's not. You know, the human body there's no secret to the human body.
There really isn't. That's the funny thing, huh? There's no secret to it.
No, if the Arabs or the countries, the Muslim countries, would see the young girls, how they walk around here, like at the mall or whatever, with those shorts, real short, and showing legs and all kinds of things, they would be very surprised. But, you know, you go to a mall or you go to a Walmart or whatever, you see people practically naked almost. There's nothing left to the imagination.
And you go far enough out onto the beach in some countries, you might actually find them naked.
I went to Cancun one time, my wife and I, and we were walking along the beach, and all of a sudden we saw a bunch of girls that I think they were college girls, and they were all topless, and they were walking along, and my wife said, "Look, there was about 6, 7 girls that were all topless," and being a doctor, but even if I was not a doctor, I looked at it and I said, so there's nothing to it, you know, because we see so much of it. When you start seeing so much of something, it just loses you lose your interest in it.
Desensitization.
It desensitizes you to that particular thing. And like if you see a lot of ugly people, before you know, you get used to ugly people, or naked people, or tall people or short people or whatever. So, but I think that people need to have parameters when you're growing up, particularly children, because children are not formed yet. Like when a child is born, the 9 months that child spent in the womb of their mother, that was just the beginning. But the lifetime that they spend after the womb, after they're out of the body of the mother, that's really also part of the development and the development of the child into a grown up and an adult. Just because they're out of the body doesn't mean that they're already done. They're not. And you continue with feeding them and cleaning them and sending them to school, but you also have to have parameters, because a child can go astray, but you know, drugs or liquor, whatever the case might be. And you have to watch that. I was partially responsible for the upbringing of one of my grandsons. And when he was in his 13, 14, 15 years old, I knew that he was about to and I put parameters. And I said no a few times, just like my father said to me. By the way, an interesting thing, my dad told me one time, I asked him one time, when I grew up, I said, "Dad, why did you not let me go to a particular dance or whatever? You told me no, but you had no reason to tell me no. Why? Were you being mean?" He says, "No. I told you no because if I would tell you yes all the time, then you would assume that whenever you would ask me, I would say yes. So then the yes would lose its value." Now think of this.
So the status quo should be no.
So once in a while he would throw a no.
Okay, so it's an occasional no.
Because I was not sure what he would say yes all the time. He says, a couple of times I told you no, and you had to stay home. And you didn't like it, but there's nothing I could do.
Did you do that to your kids? Just tell them no for no reason?
Yes, I did. I did it to my grandson and to my girls. I have 3 daughters. I did it. I followed that philosophy that my father taught. And my oldest sister paid me the greatest compliment that I ever received in my life, that I think. When her son was born, who is my grandson, one day we were talking shortly after he was born. She said, "Dad," she says, "I'm going to raise Omar the way you raised me." Now think of that. With all the no, yes and no's, with all the corrections, with all the things that I did as a father, she says, "I'm going to raise Omar the way you raised me." Think of that.
Without giving names, because we don't want to give anyone away, can you maybe bring up a memory of a challenge one of the kids posed you with?
There were many, but
like a particular one that you just remember, like that night they were getting into something.
Well,
and how did you react to it, to resolve it?
Well, I actually let my daughter correct my grandson because she was the mother. What happened was that her first husband took off and never came back. So she came to live with us, my wife and I, and my grandson and herself. They lived there for about 1.5 years until she got a house. But in the meantime, I was a father figure to my grandson, even though I was also his grandfather. And I remember one in particular. One time he met some school friends, and he wanted to stay with them overnight. They invited him to stay overnight in that house. And I told him no. I said, no, you cannot go. And I remember it broke my heart. I remember him talking to him on the phone, telling them, I'm sorry, but I cannot go. My grandpa didn't let me go. And to think that I was responsible.
But he didn't do anything wrong, right? Or did he do something wrong? Did I miss?
He did nothing wrong. I just didn't know where he was going to stay that night. I didn't know the people. I didn't know anything, the circumstances.
Okay,
and I didn't know whether he might be enticed to join a gang or do smoke pot or whatever. I just didn't know. And because I did not know, I didn't let him go. But what I did, the following week, I did a lot of investigating. I went and visited the family. It turns out the mother was alone, and her husband had left her or whatever. But anyway, I got her phone number. I asked her what was the deal if my grandson would go and stay with them. And he said, no, they would sleep here. And I said, are they going to go out? No, they won't. She said, I'm going to keep my eye on them. So I gave her my phone number, and I told her, in the event that I let him come over, will you call me in case they go out somewhere or something? And she was real nice about that. And I let him go about 2 weeks later. He said, can I go now, Grandpa? I said, yeah, you can now. And he went. He had a good weekend. But I knew exactly where he was, who he was staying with. And I called the lady. And she said, no, they're here. They're just playing games or whatever. That was nice. But that's a concerned parent. That's a concerned grandfather.
So you're saying he ended up going where he said he was going to go?
Yes.
Oh, you would have had a problem with me. I thought this story was going where I did, where it's like this friend tells him we're going to stay at this person's house, and then this friend tells that to their mom, and it kind of becomes
you're triangulating.
Like a triangulation, and then we all go out on the town for the evening.
Well, you're a little more modern. I remember you.
Or just defiant.
Yeah, well, that's true. But to
Trust
each
me,
his
it was
own.
not allowed.
I do not criticize. I don't. Everybody has to do whatever they feel is proper at the time. We all have our own ways, and that's the way I did it. But I think that you need to I think that's part of the problem nowadays. That's why they have so much delinquency. You know, I hear about people, pot and drugs and all kinds of things in school. When I went to school, we didn't have that. Or we had it. Nobody ever offered me weed. Nobody ever offered me anything. I was there. And we just went to school and did our homework and came home, and we got good grades, and we were good people. Not that the ones that are today are not bad people. They're still good people, but it was a different style. It was a different social intermingling or whatever the case might be. But in life, we wear a lot of hats, you know. We do a lot of things different. If I would take you to the past and let you live under my father, who knows what would have happened to you?
Yeah, who knows? Who knows?
You might have gotten spanked. Did your daddy ever spank you?
A couple times, yeah.
Well, good.
Mother and father. There was grounding. There was doors taken off, the hinges, all kinds of stuff. I was not. I didn't like to obey. Anytime someone told me you can't do it, that's when I said, well, why not? Yeah.
Well,
and I would sometimes just do it just to do it. Well, just because someone told me not to. Or the other way around, you have to do this? Well, who are you? Yeah, I don't know. We're all people. I mean, why should one person be the boss of another person? I get it if you're the parent.
Because he's your father.
You're right. I'm talking, you're right. He's my father. But
he's your father. He's the one who brought you in. By the grace of God, him and your mother brought you into this world. You owe your livelihood and your life to your parents.
I do. I love him very much. And I realize I was wrong now.
You were wrong.
Yeah, but
Taco breath. or dragon. You know, the other day I went to the grocery store talking about that. You know that fruit you gave me, you call it what?
Dragon fruit.
Dragon food. I saw it there, and I bought one of them, and I took it home.
Uh-huh.
They didn't know what it was in my house, but I could. Oh, I said I acted like I was an expert at
Like
it.
you were
I got a
cultured, yeah.
knife and I peeled it. And I said, "Taste this is very good." And dragon food, food or whatever. And I was the talk of the town there for a day or so. So that was. See, I learned something from you.
Was it one of the big red ones or the little yellow
The
one?
red ones. There was also kind of one yellowish, and I bought two of them.
Oh,
but the red one and that one was like yellow.
Okay.
And surprisingly, I was walking down the counter there where they sell vegetables at one of the stores, and there they were in a little crate.
There's all kinds of interesting stuff hiding.
So I said,
the
I'm going to
store.
buy these things because I was familiar with them, and took them home.
Very
They're not
nice.
cheap.
They're like $8 a piece, right?
I
It's an
know.
$8 fruit. I mean, it's an exotic fruit from a different part of the world. I think it's amazing. You can just have that happen. You can just go walk down the street, and then there's just a ripe fruit from all the way around the world just ready for you to take home. That's pretty amazing in itself.
Well, this is a hypothetical question because you still don't have any children, but if you have children, are you going to raise them the way your father raised you, or are you going to let them do whatever they want to?
I'm definitely going to raise him my own particular way. Probably not the exact way my father raised
Well,
me.
no, we're
Things
never
are going to
raised
be too different. The technology that's going to be around is just going to be completely different. The world's not going to be the same. So, yeah, who knows? Maybe like getting them off VR for 1 hour out of the 24-hour period might be the challenge. Maybe everyone's going to be linked into virtual reality. You know, you throw on the goggles and zoop, there you go. You're in the internet. You can walk around. Have you heard of the metaverse?
No.
People are throwing on this thing is called an Oculus Rift, is what the big eyepiece is. The brand is, and then they put on these goggles. They have some things in their hands, and then you go into the internet and you can walk around like you're in a room, virtual reality. And then what's brand new, the metaverse, is now people can now talk to each other like you and I are sitting in this room. If we both had the set of goggles and we both had accounts, we just log in and we're talking to each other just like you and I right here. It's not a video chat, like on your phone.
But who are the people on the other side? Who are you talking to?
Real people. Just living in other parts of the world or the country. Real people. Yeah.
What if they talk a different language?
Then maybe you can't understand them. But I mean, like, there's a lot of translator stuff on the internet. Type it out and translate it, maybe. But people hang out. Like I was saying, they'll have clothing that they can wear, and they'll like buy it and sell it. They'll buy armor and sell armor. Different video games. I'm trying to learn about it, but it's pretty crazy. It's pretty cool. It really is. So maybe this is going to be a problem in the future, is that people are just going to be too sucked into these worlds. Who knows?
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so maybe raising the kid might be just getting them off that, or not introducing them to that at all. Who knows?
We don't know.
I've got an aunt. Her kids are about to graduate high school, and they don't do social media in their house. I find it a little bizarre, but I get it. I'm not going to mention any names, but there's nothing wrong with it. But they just don't use social media, and the kids might once they become 18 and adults and make their own decisions. But who knows?
Are they Amish?
Are they Amish? The Mennonites?
The Mennonites.
No. Actually, that would be a pretty interesting way to live. Getting all your food from the land, cutting back on the electricity.
Interesting. It would be interesting. They still have those horse-drawn carriages and stuff like that. I don't particularly agree with that lifestyle, although I do not criticize it either, but I can see the wholesomeness of that particular lifestyle.
I think ideally I would like the aspect of being that close to nature, but having all the benefits of the technology, like internet, something like an earth ship, where you build it halfway in the ground, facing south. You grow plants inside, recycle the water.
One of the reasons why I believe that they do not, I think they're making a mistake, but that's me.
Who's making a mistake about what?
People who lived like that. like the Amish, for example.
The Amish.
It's because they're being left behind. They don't.
It's their choice, though.
Well, sure, that's right. It is their choice, and they have the right to their choice. So I'm not criticizing that particular part. But what I said is that I feel they're being left behind because the world goes forward. Now we have airplanes or automobiles or whatever, drugs, real good drugs. Like, for example, we have penicillin or whatever. What if they don't want to take penicillin? If they get an infection? What if they don't use fertilizer for their lands?
That's actually a big point. They don't deal with the governmental systems, the banking systems, and the healthcare systems. And I was watching a documentary, and Amish people, if they get sick, if they're old, they get sick, it's more important in the Amish community to be sick with your family as opposed to being in the city, in the hospital where your family can't visit you. Because in their case, if the sick person goes to the city hospital, their family can't come visit them. So most often they will choose to stay sick with their family instead of getting treatment. What would you do if you only had one choice?
What?
At your age, you're getting sick, and your options are go get. Let's say it's terminal. You know it's terminal. Would you say being separated from all your family for the last year of your life, or being with your family?
If I was terminal and I had only 1 year to live?
Yeah, let's say it was 1 year in the hospital or 1 month with your family.
I would take the 1 month with my family. Because
it's important, right?
To me, it's important. And number two, if you look at what is a year's time, it's nothing. It goes very fast. You certainly would want to spend whatever quality time you have with your family. If death is inevitable, we're all going to die. And so it doesn't, people say, well, what if you live to 100? 100 is nothing. 100 years is nothing. And so we're all going to be dead. You are going to die very soon, in fact. Soon in the sense that life is very short. You may be 26, 28 years old, or whatever you may be, but it won't be long before you will be dead in the scheme of things, in the scheme of life.
Some of my former friends my age, or would have been my age, they've already kicked the bucket.
Well,
so you're right. You never know.
At my age, for example, and I don't have any friends anymore. And I don't have my contemporaries that were my friends, musical friends, whomever, they're all gone. All gone. I kind of feel lonely in a way because I don't, they're all gone. I try to reach out to somebody, because I used to before. I have cousins of mine who were my age, a little bit older, a little bit younger. And a couple of them were very funny. They would tell jokes and all kinds of things. I used to enjoy their company. They're not around anymore. They're gone. And many of my personal friends are all gone. In fact, almost all of them are gone. And so therefore, I feel like the actor in that movie, The Green Mile. Have you ever seen that movie?
A while back, where
The Green Mile.
He's immortal, right, or something like that.
Pardon me?
He doesn't die.
He doesn't die, and it's a very interesting movie, and everybody died except him, and he wanted to die, but he couldn't die, and so. It doesn't mean that I want to die, but I do get a little lonely sometimes. Not so much anymore, but since my wife died, it was a real blow to my life.
Do you think doing things like this, coming to a podcast here, or going out and about, to visit your grandchildren and your daughters, do you think that helps keep you out of that mind frame of being sad?
Well, I'm not really sad per se. Oh, okay. There's a difference between being alone and lonely.
Okay.
I live alone, but I'm not necessarily lonely.
Oh, that's your phone is going off?
Oh, it's my daughter. They want to check what we're doing.
Is there any chance we could take it off?
What?
The tape? It's just vibrating up through the...
Oh, it is?
Yeah, I can hear it.
And I told them I was going
put it
to.
on
I told them I
silent?
was going to do a podcast today, but I guess they forgot.
It's okay. We'll just do our best to remember to put it
But
on
I
silent.
want to. I want to tell the people how they can reach us once more,
Okay.
because I think.
Well, if you're watching this now, it's on Twitch. You can go to YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and we have a Discord. I don't know the actual letters for the Discord, but we'll put a link in the description. The name of the podcast, you can see it on the screen right behind my uncle's head. Riches and Rags. You type in our last name, just like a capital D, a capital L, and a capital O. Delao.
3
words. And if we could please put that on silent. The vibration.
I did already.
No, the vibration keeps going.
I'll turn it off completely.
Thank you.
I'll turn it off completely. Let me see.
Yeah, we'll be releasing some new projects soon. That ape ship, I'm going to be getting on building that rocket ship. The time travel ice bath didn't work so well today.
Am I going to be in your rocket ship, in or out?
What do you mean?
Well, I don't know. You're talking about a rocket ship.
Oh yeah, I told you I was going to build a rocket. That's what you came. You came at the end of that film session was the beginning of this one. But
okay.
Yeah. So that's you can find us pretty much anywhere. Riches and Rags in that order. Cool. Let's do a fortune cookie. Let's do
a fortune cookie.
I don't have my buttons today, but I'm going to go ahead and ring the gong.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, that's trash. A clever person solves a problem, a wise person avoids it. Yeah, that was the one thing about it. Let's see. We were going to get duplicates once in a while because I was able to put like 20 messages and get like 30 cookies. It was weird, so like half of them.
I'm going to open one myself.
Hey, go for it. Let's give you that shot.
How can you open it?
You got it.
I'm going to take out my trusty knife. Do you know that I have always carried a knife with me? Always. When we were in my office, and my secretary would say, "Val, can I use your knife?" Everybody knew that I had a knife, and I still carry a knife. I cannot live without my knife. I use it for all kinds of things.
Well, it came in handy right there. It's a nice knife.
That's right. It could even come handy to defend yourself. Let me see here. Why in the hell do you carry a knife? No. It says discipline is choosing what you want now versus what you want.
We've gotten all of these, haven't we? They gave us more duplicates because we've done episodes and we've gotten that one too.
I don't know what they're asking.
Holy cow. How many are we going to open? All right, we're going to turn it into a game. How many fortune cookies before we get a new one? The second one I just opened was about owning a slave, or owning your master as a slave. We talked about that.
What are these?
Holy cow. All right, this one's not bad. If we are true to ourselves, we cannot be false to anyone. If we are true to ourselves, we cannot be false to anyone. This might go along the line of your we wear many hats.
Yes,
yeah,
we do. You know, if you have to, I always contend that you have to be a good person. You have to be a good person.
Well, what if you're lying? This is where I think it's like if you're lying to yourself about you think you're a good person.
No, you cannot lie to yourself because how can you lie to yourself if you know that you're lying to yourself to begin with?
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what the fortune cookie is saying. If you're lying to yourself.
If you asked me if I'm a good person, I would say yes, most definitely. Because, you have to define what good person is. But a good person, how do I define a good person? A person who doesn't hurt themselves or other people, in a way. You don't want to hurt anybody. You don't want to hurt other people. You don't want to hurt your parents, your mother, your neighbors. And if you drive too fast, you're liable to hurt somebody in your car. Or if you don't pay your bills, then you're hurting people. If you don't work, you're lazy. So being a good person is not doing all those things. it's more complicated than what I'm making it out. But if you look in the mirror and you say to yourself, who am I? For me, I'm very satisfied with what I am. I know I'm not the best-looking man in the world. I'm not the smartest guy in the world. I'm certainly not the richest guy in the world. But I like who I am. And because, you know why I like who I am? Because I respect myself.
Was there ever a point where you didn't like who you were?
Never. Never. I respect myself. If you lose your respect for yourself, then you have lost it right there. Because you don't respect yourself.
Can you ever get it back?
I suppose so. But, yes, you can. But if you lose your respect for yourself, you need to talk to yourself. You need to kind of maybe even lay the law to yourself. I've done it many times in my life.
I like this. Let's keep diving into this. Like, how can you lay the law for yourself? How do you respect yourself? Like,
well, first of all, you correct those things you are doing in your mind that are wrong.
How do you know that they're wrong? You just ask yourself, what am I doing wrong?
You know you're wrong. First of all, you have a conscience. You should know that you have a conscience. And number two, if you are hurting people, if your mother and father say, you shouldn't be doing that, Tyler, because this and that and the other, you're hurting them. And you ought to correct that.
Ooh, this is sticky territory because we shouldn't be completely modifying our behavior to make other people happy.
I did not say that. But if you have children and you're not supporting them, and they need clothing and they're dirty and they don't have any food to eat, that is being irresponsible. That in itself is something to ponder about losing the respect for yourself.
I agree. I agree with everything except for the part where if you do something and someone else is unhappy because of that, therefore you should adjust yourself. That's where we get into.
I'll give you a perfect example.
Okay.
You and I, we text each other, and we always say, well, what time are you going to be here? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever. And I text you the reply. No, we cannot be there. Yes, I can. But once I tell you, yes, I'm going to be there, wouldn't it be something I never showed up? And say, why didn't he show up? And I wouldn't call you. I wouldn't do anything. I'm losing my respect for you, but my respect for you makes me show up here on time, and the respect for you for me is that you are going to be here when I show up. So it's a mutual respect. You also have respect for yourself. Don't lose your respect for yourself, because if you do, then you're going to lose it all. The person that you're supposed to respect more than anybody else in the world is yourself.
How can you build up your self-respect if you're working on it? You don't know where to start. Let's say I'm a person who not happy where I am. Let's just ponder and say maybe I'm not doing well. What is something I can do to help build my self-respect?
Well,
like a simple activity or a simple thing I can do.
First of all, I believe that if you were raised a proper way, you already have the respect within you, because your parents raised you the right way.
Well, let's say you weren't.
What?
Let's say you weren't. Because not everybody was.
Well, then you're going to have a problem, because if your parents were not respectful, if they themselves were in drugs or whatever the case might be, then you're going to grow up as a flawed human being for the moment. You have to analyze yourself. What is it that you are doing wrong as far as you think? What society is doing wrong? It's like running a red light. You're driving down the road and you say, no, I'm going to run this light. What the heck? It won't be long before you run into somebody and kill somebody or wreck somebody or whatever. There are rules in life. And if you obey them and you go with them, I'm not saying that you agree to them, but if you're going to stay out of trouble.
That's a fair shout. I think one of the things I like to do for a baseline is exercise. You know, it could start as simple as a walk or doing anything from intense cardiovascular activities. And
there's the rules.
Getting a sweat going, that'll help build self-esteem.
There's rules of health. People say, I have a relative of mine that's always in bad health. And because of my medical training, they asked me, well, what's wrong with me? She asked me the other day, what's wrong with me? Why is it that I'm sick? And I said, She says, I need to go get an MRI. I need to do this. I need to do that. I said, that's not your problem. The problem is lifestyle. You have a real bad lifestyle. In fact, you don't have no lifestyle at all. You know, in the morning when you get up, you don't want to go to work. You don't want to go do whatever you do early in the morning, but you want to stay in bed because you're obeying the law of physics. An object that is motionless, it wants to stay that way. And a person who is in motion wants to stay in motion, an object. So you have to do what you're right. And in this particular case of this person, they need. It's a matter of lifestyle. She doesn't exercise. She doesn't walk. She eats wrong, the things that are wrong for her health. And then she expects to have perfect health or good health. How can you have perfect health if you do not exercise, if you don't eat properly, if you do not take your medicine when you're supposed to, if you don't practice a good lifestyle?
Do you wake up at the same time every morning?
Every night, every morning.
Go to bed at the same time?
Exactly, I do.
Okay.
Once in a while, I may go bed later or whatever, but for the most part, I go to bed at the same time. I get up at the same time. Many times when I have been sleeping and I want to get up later, I can't.
Your body clock wakes you
Your
up.
body clock kicks in. He say it may be Sunday, but you still have to get up at 7 o'clock.
Have you always had a sleeping pattern of only at night? Just one sleep session at night and that's it?
Yes, most of the time. Except one time, many, many, many years ago when I was young and good looking, I got into trouble financially, and I got a job at this factory, and I worked from midnight to 8 o'clock in the morning. And that was horrible. But I did it for about 6 months until I paid that debt, and then I went back to my normal routine.
Yeah, I'm all over the place. The last few years, I think maybe probably since 5 or 6 years, since the middle of college, I get up in the middle of the night. I'll take some sleep in the middle of the day. Yeah, I do kind of two, about 4 or 5 at night, maybe 2 or 3.
I was remembering you when I saw this hat in my closet. I gave you one when you were a little boy.
Mm-hmm. We talked about it last week.
Yeah, I know. And I happened to see another one there. I didn't know I had another one. So this
exactly
is
the same.
A golfing hat, supposedly.
It looks like maybe the same brand. What's the...
I don't even know where I bought them, but
Well, it says here made in China.
Well, everything's made in China. You better check your label. You'll have it to be made in China.
I mean, heck, when I studied there, and worked there, they had to take all kinds of screenings, right? They check your health, your blood pressure, and part of that is they take your blood. So my brother's got a joke that they've got my blood in a database. So you never know, they might make another me in the future.
You know, you and I have a unique thing because you went to China, and so did I. And I don't know how many members of our family have gone to China, but I don't think too many.
That's it, yeah.
In fact, some of them haven't been anywhere. But anyway, we were talking about wearing different hats in life or whatever it may be. You know, we have you wear the hat of a grandfather. I was just talking to about my grandson that I raised partly, and the role that you play as a father, a son, an uncle, a nephew, a boss, an employee, and we all wear different hats in life. And this is the hat of a golfer. I brought some hats in case we might find them interesting. Let me see. You can ask me. This is an interesting hat.
What is that?
This hat has a story. It's kind of dirty, sweaty.
It does look like it's been places.
It sure has.
For the listeners, it's a very light beige cowboy hat. It looks like it has maybe some tears in the top of it.
It has a bandana around the crown.
Maybe some light oily stains on the top of it. The brim where you place your head on it is definitely
and this is
smudged.
a celebrity hat because this has been on TV many times.
It's curved on one side. Is that supposed to be like that?
What?
It's kind of like...
No, not really, but
even.
who cares?
What celebrity's hat was this?
Well, I say celebrity because this hat has been on TV many times when I used to do my TV show. The story of this hat is that I went deer hunting with some friends many years ago, many years ago. And we had a guide, and this guide took us deer hunting wherever there were elk or deer or whatever the case might be, and he was wearing his hat. And I fell in love with the hat. God. I fell in love with this hat, and it turns out that this hat is married because he told me the story that he went hunting one time, and the guide, an old gentleman, was wearing his hat. So this hat is many years old. But anyway, this hat has a hole right here.
That's the hole.
That's a hole.
What's that for?
And it turns out he said that was a bullet hole. I'm not so sure it is or it isn't. But anyway, there's a hole there. And anyway, we stayed with him for about a week. And I kept talking about the hat. And I remember when we said goodbye, the trip ended. He took his hat off and he gave it to me.
Was this guy Mexican? Was this again the
no,
Mexican?
No, it was
giving
just
thing?
one of my friends in northern New Mexico, but he gave me the hat.
I like this.
That was a fantastic gesture on his part because he gave me his hat, and it's not worth anything to a lot of people, but to me, I wouldn't sell this for any kind of money. Because every time I see this hat, and hopefully I will pass it on to somebody in my family once I'm gone.
It might actually be a real bullet hole if you threw it up in the air and shot it.
Well, we don't know. It sure looks like a bullet hole.
I mean, it looks like if it could be if he threw it up in the air as if it was like a clay disc.
And I think I look good in this hat.
You do. It actually matches the burgundy. It's got a red bandana that wraps around
Do I look like Clint Eastwood on The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, or
I would say Clint
Billy the Kid?
Southwestwood. Clint Southwestwood.
or Billy the Kid or something. Alpha Gobaka. See, we do have with our people, we also have heroes like Alpha Gobaka. He was a mean dude with a 6-shooter or whatever.
Never heard of him.
You never heard of anybody. You're just too young.
Was he a sidekick of Zorro?
Oh wait, I have.
You got more hats.
Oh, I have also this hat. Every time I go to Mexico, I go to Puerto Vallarta or I go to Cancun, I go somewhere, I buy a hat. I have many of them.
This is like more of a straw hat.
This is Puerto Vallarta, and I wear a hat.
Yeah. It's, again, kind of a cowboy hat shape.
Yeah, it's a straw hat, really. They're made of straw.
Hat.
They come very handy, and when you go to places like Cancun or Puerto Vallarta or Acapulco, you better wear a hat if you're out in the sun a lot. And but this is a hat from Puerto Vallarta. We also, now this is a story. A nice
You're right, you're very right about that. We went last year. My brother, my father, and I. We went to Puerto Vallarta about a year ago, and we had to get hats. We were burning up on the shoulders.
Now I have a gardener that cuts my grass and stuff like that in my home, and one day he came over and he was wearing a hat like this, and I liked the hat so much that he said to me, "I'm going to bring you a hat next time I go to Chihuahua." So he brought me this hat.
What a magnificent one. This is about twice the size of the other ones.
This is a big hat.
That's a sombrero. That's a proper
That's a sombrero, and it's really a hat to keep the sun out of your face and your body. And it's a very well, I love this hat. And once in a while, when I'm working outside, I wear this hat.
Right on. You seem to enjoy hats more than any other.
Here's my
piece of
Frank
clothing.
Sinatra hat.
Oh, there's another one. Holy cow! There's a feather in it. It's a fedora.
Yes, a fedora. I like this hat. It has
It's black.
a feather. And, years ago, I don't know the customs now so much, but years ago, men used to put feathers in your hats. And the other day, I was at Tingley Beach, and I found a feather because they have a lot of geese. And I picked up this feather, and I put it in my hat. And believe it or not, but I get a lot of comments on the feather.
What color is the feather, by any chance? Is it?
Let me see. The feather is like gray. It's a goose feather.
A goose feather.
And women make a lot of comments on the feather. They say, "Oh, Mr. Dela, I like your hat, and I love that feather." I don't know why. Maybe they're.
Is this how people talked back in the day?
Maybe they're.
My, oh my, what a marvelous feather you have on that head.
That's true. That's true. See? But
that looks like it could actually write some ink if you dipped it in some ink. The quill, I can kind of see it's hollow.
Can't you just accept the feather as just a dress-up thing?
No, I got to see utility and everything.
You find utility in everything.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's the story of my hats.
Right on. I like the hat stories. It seems to me like you like hats more than any other piece of attire. Would you say hats are your favorite?
What?
Would you say hats are your favorite piece of attire?
I find hats fascinating. And I think you asked me one time if I had any regrets in life. I was thinking about that the other day.
Okay.
And I have a lot of regrets in my life.
Really?
Not bad ones, but I have regrets. I have regrets in that I sold a bunch of property that I owned. And had I not sold it, it would be worth millions today.
Okay.
It's one of my regrets.
So what's the advice? What's the takeaway to people listening?
If you want to become wealthy, there's many ways to become wealthy.
But with
like with the crypto thing that you were talking about.
Yeah.
But the simplest way to become wealthy, in my opinion, is I have a little formula. It's real estate. I can't. I was trying to think of the idea. Excuse me.
That's the best way to get rich.
Let me see. Let me see if I can remember. Real estate plus time. Why are you laughing?
It's a lot of suspense. It's a lot of suspense. I was ready for some really good, really dense piece of advice. And proceed. I'm just interrupting you.
Well, okay. Real estate plus time equals health. Equals wealth.
Okay. Real
estate plus time equals wealth. In other words, if you buy real estate and just hold it on for 20, 30 years, you're going to become very wealthy.
Even if it's just a dirt lot?
It doesn't matter what it is. You could buy just a plain old lot. They're not making more land, you know.
They are. And the metaverse and the digital world, Earth 2, people are buying physical digital real estate.
Yeah.
So buy property. That was one of your
Anyway,
regrets.
let me tell you about my regrets.
Yeah, your regrets. Yeah.
I regret not selling. I regret not meeting and not taking a picture with Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali was my guest on my TV show, and that time I told you the story. My photographer called in sick, and I did not get a picture with Muhammad Ali, and he was my favorite guest.
That's unfortunate that the one episode he showed up that your camera guy
and he didn't. Of course, I could. You know what I could do? I could get my TV show and just freeze that image, and I could take a picture of that. Okay. I regret not meeting Mother Teresa. I had a chance to do it, and I did not do it. I had a chance to meet Dr. Martin Luther King, and I didn't do it. To me, he's one of the greatest peoples in the history of our world. I think Martin Luther King was really something.
So these are almost like anti-regrets. They're like regrets about things that you didn't do, as opposed to like, oops, I did something bad I wish I had.
Oh, no. These are
like, okay.
Then I have kind of real personal regrets. You know, I used to travel all over the country because of the syndication of my TV show. I'm Val DeLao, by the way, in case you're wondering, who in the heck is that syndicating your show? So I regret my wife not going on trips with me because I went to New York many times, Miami, Pittsburgh, whatever the case might be.
She didn't enjoy it, though, right?
No. We have a handicapped daughter.
Oh, that's right.
And she did not trust anybody to take care of my handicapped daughter, and she didn't go with me. And for 5 years, I traveled by myself. And it was kind of lonely because I would be in New York City looking at the Statue of Liberty, but I didn't have the experience to share with anybody else. You got to share. The key word in life is to share. You and I are sharing this podcast. You go to a restaurant and you share a meal with somebody, or you see a beautiful mountain or whatever it is, you share. Armando Manzanero, the famous Mexican composer, wrote a song called Compartir, the word for share in Spanish. Okay. let's see here.
I mean, just on another point, while we're on the like traveling and sharing it, I think even the what's the word I'm looking for? Nomads. The backpackers. There's a word for these people who go around from city to city. Ryan did it for you. They even find groups of other backpackers, right? A lot of people like to stay alone, but it's inevitable. Like you might end up hanging out with some people from the hostel. You know, you might go on an adventure with them, even though you started out your adventure alone. It's kind of hard to avoid that.
And I have many other regrets, but that's it.
Would you like to talk about them? No? You could talk about it if you want. We got all the time.
No, I made a notation here, you know, because I used to enjoy Johnny Carson a lot on TV. And people ask me many times, because I was called the Hispanic Johnny Carson. Newspapers, the New York Times did a story on me and some other newspapers. And they used to call me the Hispanic Johnny Carson because my show was pretty close to the format that Johnny Carson had on The Tonight Show. But I did not meet Johnny Carson. Never did. I did sit in his chair, though. I can claim that fame.
In his chair.
I sat in his chair.
Oh, this was Channel 34, the story you said at the beginning?
No. I went to NBC.
Oh, okay.
See, my show was produced on an NBC affiliate. And once you are associated with a network, they give you a lot of privileges. When I went to NBC in Hollywood, they treated me very nice. And I went to the NBC studios and all kinds of things. And I asked to be taken to the studio where The Tonight Show was being filmed and taped. And they took me there. And there was the desk and the chair where Johnny Carson would sit doing the show. And it was the sofas were covered in plastic and whatever. And so I asked if they would allow me to sit on his chair. And they said, yeah, go ahead and sit on his chair. So I sat on his chair, and I pretended I was Johnny Carson. And that's what I did.
How exciting.
And what really amazed me, the studio was not that big. The place for the orchestra, I thought it would be a big place for the orchestra. It was a very small little space. And the people where they sat, the audience, the chairs were very steep. And I kind of felt people... It was very steep. It seemed to me even almost to the point of being dangerous.
Like you're talking about where
a very steep incline.
Okay.
The studio. And also, and his desk, that really amazed me. His desk that he used to sit was just a plain old desk. Nothing fancy about it, nothing. Just sat there and like this table. There's nothing fancy about this table either.
Yeah, simplified on purpose with the black cloth.
I'm glad you have it covered because...
The wood under is ugly, yeah.
It's kind of I think this is better than Johnny Carson's desk.
Yeah, all right. This used to be a kitchen table.
And the other difference that he and I had is that he was paid $16 million a year. And I'm not getting paid anything for this thing right now.
Neither am I.
Can you at least give
honestly, the only guy making money right now is our production room guy.
Can you at least provide a hamburger or something?
Are you hungry right now?
No, I'm not. I'm eating the fortune cookie.
Yeah, I can definitely have food next time. I just didn't have any this time.
But I'll tell you one thing. I came prepared just in case.
What'd you bring?
In case I don't trust you, you see.
Okay.
So I brought a banana.
Okay.
And I brought...
Eat it, yeah.
And I brought an avocado.
Okay.
Now, can you provide a slice of bread?
Would you like me to get you tortilla?
No, not yet.
You eat a banana and an avocado together? Do you make like an interesting dip with that?
No, it's just kind of a snack, but it's very convenient to carry around a banana because first of all, it's very good food, and number two, you just peel it and eat it.
Well, I mean, the other fruits, they're circular, they roll around. You can lose them.
A what?
They're circular, they're spherical, they roll around, you can lose them. A banana is not going anywhere.
Exactly. That's true. And the avocado, excuse me, and besides, they're very nutritious.
Absolutely. Oh, avocados are like...
Nutritional.
Very well known for being...
What's the word, nutritional?
Nutritious.
Nutritious.
Nutrients
The avocado is full of essential fatty acids, which is very good for your skin and for not to get Alzheimer's and stuff like that. Eat a lot of avocados. I eat them all the time. And I eat them with anything. I put avocados in my salad, and when I'm eating beans and chili, I'll cut an avocado. I use it as a snack, an avocado. Banana is very good too, by the way.
We had some avocado cut up on our quesadillas yesterday.
Quesadillas? Ooh, now I'm getting hungry.
Well, we don't have to stretch this episode too long. We're hitting it, I think, in about an hour now, so we can honestly
just tell the people where they can reach us.
Where they can reach us. I don't need, Cameron, can you please throw up that ticker? He'll throw up that ticker, and we'll put links in the description. For anyone watching the video, there should be a Discord link if you want to look at it and type it in. Our Discord community chat would be a really good way to get a hold of us. You can also go to delaostudios@gmail.com.
I would like to know what the people, if they watch this podcast, to tell us their impressions of it. If they don't like it, let us know.
Okay, I'll do extra things like, for example, this segment. I'll cut it up and I'll put it on, like a minute video. I'll spam it everywhere.
Because sometimes we might inadvertently be doing something wrong or something that is offending people or something.
We will always be doing something that's offending somebody somewhere.
Well, that's true. And maybe that's a good thing because you stimulate people by offending them. Although I don't want to offend anybody.
Hey, we all die. That's the only fallback, We all have our opinions and then we all die.
Are you offending me, by the way?
No.
Or am I offending you?
No, you're not offending me.
Okay.
No.
Well, you're offending me because you're telling me about crypto, whatever.
So you're offended because you don't understand.
That's true. I do not understand some of those things. And whatever you do not understand, then you reject. Remember that.
What was the internet like the first time it came out? What do you remember people saying, this isn't going to be a thing? Do you remember
I said
what
it
did
myself.
You think about it?
I remember the first time I heard about the internet was in 1973, 74.
That early?
Yes. That's when Steve Jobs came up with a little Macintosh, little type of computer. And I remember Bill Gates came. There was some news about him. In fact, he lived here in Albuquerque, Bill Gates, and he's got the unique experience or whatever that he got arrested because he couldn't pay a plane. I think it was a traffic ticket or something. He got thrown in jail in Albuquerque. And in fact, if you go to the museum, they have a picture of Bill Gates there when he was arrested. Poor guy. And now
that's the cops here. They'll get you for.
And now he could buy the whole city of Albuquerque.
He probably could. Huh?
He could buy the police department and fire the officer that arrested him.
It'd be a little late for that.
Yeah. No, I think Bill Gates is a nice fellow.
But when you first caught...
Every time I see him on TV, he seems to be a nice man. He's got more money than I do.
So when you first caught word of the internet, what did you think about it? Because that was the first computer, and computers were
the first time that it really dawned on me.
Internet, like connectivity.
The first time that it really dawned on me, I went to a cousin of mine's house. She invited us to go to dinner, and she had a computer sitting right there. And I said, "What the hell is that?" She said, "That's a computer." And what does it do? Well, it had a keyboard. She says you can click in there and ask questions or whatever. I thought it was kind of a dumb thing. I didn't think it was anything. I had no illusions of owning one or whatever. And now I have two computers in my house.
3 if you count your phone, or if that's the second one.
Well, the phone is a mini computer.
Yeah.
Your telephone, and in fact, you can Google anything you want to. My son-in-law calls me Mr. Google because I'm always Googling something. He says, "That's Mr. Google right there." But it's good because I can ask. I'm fascinated with some of this stuff. To think that you can go and search something. I have searched everything from religion to characters to people. If you want to know anything about anybody or anything, just Google it.
What's some of the weirdest stuff you've ever come across?
I don't think they're weird.
You stay away.
In fact, I'll tell you what I do though. I'm watching the news.
Okay.
I'm watching TV at night or whenever, and some personality comes on that I don't quite know too much about that personality, or they are mentioning something, a food or a game, or whatever the case might be, and I reach for my phone, I pause the TV show that I'm watching, and then I Google that to find out what they're talking about. Okay. Very interesting, and I like it. Then that's why I'm so wise.
It's helpful. Yeah, it's very helpful to have that at the touch of your fingertips. Oh, man.
Do you think you're wise?
No, I'm wise enough to avoid the mistakes that I've made. Most of them. I'm a repeat offender. I got to learn things like 3 times.
What is your biggest mistake, if you can share it with us?
Infidelity. Cheating on a partner.
Cheating on whom?
A partner.
A partner?
Yeah.
Infidelity?
Infidelity.
I think
that is probably the biggest.
I think that's pretty serious, frankly.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't married, and a lot of people would say it doesn't count. But, I mean, it hurts. It does. So, mix alcohol in that, too.
I think that the worst, one of the worst sins that we human beings commit is infidelity to our spouse or to our partner.
It's betrayal.
Because it's a betrayal. And even if they do not find out about it, but you do, you know that you did it, and you lose respect for yourself.
I confessed the next day. That was so much guilt. I mean, I could imagine people hiding that, but me personally,
it's very hard to hide it because it kind of gnaws on me, it kind of eats you all the time. It's there. It's like a cancer. It's like a sin is bad for you. That's why you have to be a good person. And we all have committed sin, and I don't like to sin. I sin every single day, but I try not to. The older I get, the more I try not to sin. But you're right. Infidelity is horrible.
Yeah. I mean, it's one thing to betray yourself, but to betray someone that trusts you like that, it's not good.
It's betrayal. It's betrayal to...
But, yeah, it's just the whole...
What?
Yeah, it's just betrayal in general.
That's right. So don't betray your spouse. Don't betray your friends. Don't betray your girlfriend, and that's it.
But, yeah, I mean, I think on the other side of that, it's like the anti-regrets that you were talking about is if I think about not something that I did that I wish I didn't do, but more, I think what's more important is there was probably some opportunities I had that I just let brush on by. I owned one Bitcoin back when it was only worth $800. And just, 4 or 5 months ago, it was worth $60,000. It's down now to like 35 or 40. Huge swings in the value. But regardless, at that point in time, I bought one Bitcoin, the OG Bitcoin, for about $800. And the value dropped to like $400. And I was like, at that time, I was kind of broke. I said, this $400 is I'm gonna cash out so I don't lose all of it. I'm just gonna sell this Bitcoin and call it a loss. What I should have done was just hang in there. If I just held it until now, that $800 would have well paid itself off. It'd be worth $30 or $40 now.
Well, you did what I did with my properties that I had.
Yeah. Yep.
Right now they would be worth over $2 million. And you would be talking to a millionaire instead of this poor guy who's homeless now.
Do you, what was I going to ask? Did you sell them because you needed the cash? Were you strapped in a bad position? I
sold them because my wife and I were having problems.
Oh, okay.
And she told me that she was going to divorce me because I was not being loyal to her.
Okay.
I also am guilty of infidelity. And she found out about it. And she told me, Val de la O Incorporated, I don't care how good-looking you are. I don't care how famous you are. I don't care. If you don't quit your crap, I'm going to divorce your ass. That was her words. Well, something to it anyway.
Well,
and I didn't quit. And a few days later, I got served papers, and it was not nice. It was not good because I loved my wife. I still did all my life. I never lost my life for her. I just veered off and did something stupid.
Mm-hmm. Was alcohol involved?
No, none at all. Another woman.
Right, but like in that mix with alcohol?
No, I've never been into alcohol or drugs or smoking or nothing like that.
So maybe women was your vice?
Pardon me?
Women was your vice?
I don't think it's a vice.
An Achilles heel?
I don't think it's a vice. I think woman, it's a natural reaction that men like women and women like men.
Well, yeah, but if you couldn't control yourself and it destroyed your marriage at a point in time, then maybe it was a bit of an Achilles heel, wasn't it? A bit of a weakness?
Are you my wife's friend or what?
No, I'm trying to break it down from an objective point.
No. No, you're right. No, I did wrong, and I cannot put the things. There's more reasons why this happened, and ask me the next time, and I'll tell you why this thing happened.
Okay.
Because she was a little bit at fault, a little bit. I always have believed that when there is a divorce or whatever, one person doesn't have 100% of the fault. Is that you share the fault between both of you. It may be 100, maybe 90 to 10%, maybe 75 to 25%, maybe 60-40 or whatever. But both people involved have a little bit of fault as well.
So there's a disconnect that I have for your story, and it's you talk about your wife that you were with her up until the point of her death, but there was this point in time where the stuff was rocky because of that. Was there a point where you weren't with her, and then did you fix it with your wife?
Yes, I did.
How did you do that? What was that? What's that all about?
Well, I quit the other stuff, and I came and I had to grovel.
Grovel?
Oh, yeah, I had to tell her, please take me back, and I got on my knees and I asked her to forgive me and all kinds of things. And you know what? She did. And I get emotional sometimes about this because we lived about 27 years after I groveled. And
how many years before?
Another 20, 25 years.
Whoa.
And she took me back. And I tried to be the best husband, the best father, the best partner for the last 27 years. And in fact, that was part of our thing that we traveled. We went to China, we went to Israel, we went to South Mexico, we went to Canada. We traveled a lot. And, you know, we would go places and we would hold hands. And I would tell her how much I loved her, and she did too. And it was all like a second honeymoon. So when I hear people that I'm not going to forgive him or I'm not going to forgive her, I think that's wrong. I think you ought to consider forgiving. I know because I became a marriage counselor thereafter, and I used to counsel couples. And because I've been rich, I've been poor, I've been divorced, I've been remarried. I have a lot of experience in life. And I was able to pass this experience to other people that were having problems themselves. And I fixed a few marriages. And I remember one particular couple, they came to see me, and they were very angry with each other. When they sat in my office, they were sitting almost back to back. When they left an hour and a half later, they were holding hands and they were kissing as they walked away. And I remember to this day that image of that couple getting back together. And I tell people, when you seek a marriage counselor, if you're a woman, be sure you talk to a male counselor. And if you're a male, talk to a woman counselor as well.
Why is this important?
Because a woman will tell another the woman's point of view, and they do not know what the man's point of view was. And vice versa. A man, if he always listens to other men, you only get the male point of view. So you need to talk to the opposite sex as a counselor so that you can get the female. Many women would come to see me and they say, well, my girlfriends told me this and this and this and this and this and this. And that's why I filed a divorce for him. That's why I don't forgive him. That's why I'm doing all the things that I'm doing. And I would tell him, you know what? I think you're wrong. And let me tell you why. And I would give them the male perspective of what was happening. And believe it or not, many times they would listen, and many times it would fix the marriage. And vice versa. Sometimes men would tell me the same thing. I hang around with my male friends. I say, you need to go see a woman's counselor, because she might give you the opposite point of view. there's always two sides to the coin,
Was there ever a common problem from couple to couple that you saw, like, okay, this just keeps happening?
Yes, there is.
Couple? What is it?
I'll give you an example. I had a couple one time that came to see me, and one of the two people had halitosis. You know what halitosis is?
Sounds hella scary.
No, it isn't. Well, it is and it isn't. It's bad breath.
Oh, yeah, nobody likes that.
You don't like that. And one of them told me that the other one had it, and which they did because I'm a doctor and I could smell the person there. And this other person who had the halitosis would not correct it. They would not seek medical advice. They just didn't do anything about it. They kept denying it. They say, "Oh, I don't have it. But they did have it. It came to the point where they break up the marriage.
That goes back to our fortune. If you're true to yourself, you can't be false to anyone else. But this person was being false to themselves.
Exactly, and it's a very serious thing. There were people. I had married people who came to see me, and sometimes they had problems with their sex life, or the man did not know. They were very rough in lovemaking, and or the woman would be in some ways not receptive to the man for whatever. So you have to kind of work in those little things and work out, see what's going on.
Everybody's different.
Everybody's different, but everybody's similar. It's funny. It's a contradiction, isn't it? Everybody's similar and everybody's different. And I remember women coming to me and saying, my husband, he doesn't take a bath. He comes from work, and he right away wants to jump in a sack with me, and he doesn't even take a bath. And I find that repulsive. And men would tell me sometimes something about their wives as well. And I could tell you all kinds of stories. And but in the final analysis, it helped them, because I would bring them up as a counselor. I would tell them, don't do this, don't do that, yes, do that. And many times we fixed the marriage.
That's good. I'm just looking at our links here just for the next segment here.
I'm Val de la O.
This is Val de la O. I'm gonna read a few of these reaction links here, and I'm gonna let you choose. Okay, so we've got this unbelievably ingrown eyelash. You're a doctor. That's medical. We've got a scary dude. No pomegranates. Oh, apparently there was a different person who invented the moonwalk. Any of those sound interesting to you? We've got a lion attacking a man, a bear attacking a man. No?
It doesn't matter to me. I saw the thing about the moonwalk the other day.
About what moonwalk?
The moonwalk, like the one that Michael Jackson used to do.
Right, you saw.
He did not invent it.
Let's go ahead and click that, because that was one of the.
He was not who invented it. Somebody else invented it.
It was a gentleman dancing. Well, yeah, let's leave all the audio off because copyright stuff. Billy Bailey performing the moonwalk for the first time in New York, 1955, 28 years before Michael Jackson did. So this happens to me all the time. I'm living my life. It's 28 years down the line. I'm just living in the universe where Michael Jackson invents the moonwalk, and then all of a sudden I am presented with a new piece of information, and my reality is different. It was a lie. It was a lie. I was living a lie the whole time. And I see it. Here's the proof. There he goes. Video footage. He's doing a moonwalk way before Michael Jackson ever did it.
Well, nothing is new in life. And most of the time, what we human beings do, we're just extending whatever the other person was doing. We are standing on the shoulders of other people.
Yeah. I mean, that's a lot of what computer
this thing you and I are doing right now has been done many times by other people.
Inventing the equipment to the building of the table.
And even without the equipment, God knows, 50, 100 years ago, they were already doing podcasts, but in another form. But it's not new. Nothing is new. In medicine and in health, I've noticed that there's nothing new. Some of the most effective remedies are the remedies that our grandfathers had, and they would give somebody. The other day I was reading an old book, and they were using some kind of a thing for gout or whatever the case might be, and it turns out that those things are very effective, and remedies 100 years ago. So nothing is new to the universe. We're really just...
I wonder where that original thought comes from. like an original idea. I don't think they exist.
I don't think anything's really original per se.
So you think that, well, if nothing's really original, that means that everything is already there in the first place, right?
It could be. It's already there. We just have to discover it.
We just got to find it.
Right, just like digging up something and you find it. It's already there. Or if nothing else, the idea or the conception, it's there already. That's why I like to see history and read about history, about the pyramids, about this, about that. And I find a connection in some way to our modern lives. I was, just last night, for example, I was watching a big, tall building, I think it was in New York or Dubai or somewhere, 60, 70, 80 stories high. And I said to myself, I wonder what is more difficult to build, this building or one of the pyramids in Giza? And if so, what would be the impression of a pharaoh back then if they could look at this building now?
I don't know. That's a big question. What if the pyramids did something? What if they had like an actual function? And
maybe they
maybe
did.
The building that the
Maybe
pharaoh's
they
looking
did.
at is just a building. He's like, what is this? Does nothing.
One day I was talking to a group of friends, and they made this statement. They said, we were talking about the pyramids, and they said, luckily we don't have modern people constructing pyramids. I say, yes, they do. And they said, what do you mean?
MGM Grand, right?
What do you think a presidential library is?
A presidential library?
Exactly. The presidents make a library. Obama's building one right now in Chicago somewhere.
Really?
Lyndon Johnson has one in Texas. Bill Clinton has one in Hope, Arkansas. Presidential libraries.
And they're built in the shape of a pyramid?
No, but it's a modern pyramid to promote their legacy, to promote whatever.
Oh, it's just it's not a pyramid. It's just a building.
Well, it's a building, but they have all those things that promotes their legacy.
Gotcha.
I went to the one in Anaheim, California, or that area, and I went to the Nixon Presidential Library, and it's really a pyramid in modern sense. Is all it is. This man, because he was powerful and famous or whatever, he built this pyramid to promote his legacy. That's all they're doing. Ramses made his pyramid to promote Ramses, the pharaoh in Egypt. Nixon has his own pyramid in close there to California because he's promoting Nixon. And Obama and Clinton and Johnson and all those people have built their libraries to promote themselves.
That's interesting. I didn't know presidents each got a library. It's maybe like a museum about them specifically.
Yeah, but it's everything about him, about their papers, about their decisions that they made as presidents, about some of the things that it's their legacy.
That's pretty
In
cool.
fact, you and I, in a way, are promoting our own legacy here.
Yes, indeed.
Why do you think I'm here appearing with you? Because I'm promoting my legacy.
Yeah,
Val de la O has to have a legacy somewhere.
That episode where we talked about the heritage and lineage, that's an important part. I'm going to be asking a lot of the guests about their lineage and
Very
heritage
important to promote. And we want to, all of us feel a need to promote our legacy. We want to live into the future. And we can do it through our children and our children's children, et cetera, et cetera. I was telling somebody the other day, I was holding in my arms my great-grandson. He's only almost 3 years old. And I said to myself, we were wondering who is going to see the 2023 century, the year 2023. You're not going to see it. You're not going to live that long.
You mean
as young as you are.
21, 23?
You're not going to, 2023.
That's next year.
No, 2023.
2023. You're
This
talking.
is 2022.
Yeah.
You have to go to 2022-99 before you get to 2023.
I know what you're saying. You're saying you're talking 100 years from now.
Exactly, 100 years from now.
Because we're here. We're in 2022. You're talking about 21.
We're
23. Because if we just go to 2023, that's just 1 year from now.
That's right. We're 2022 right now.
Did that time traveling video I do have an effect on you?
Yeah, it did.
What year do you think it is right now?
I haven't got the slightest idea.
It doesn't matter, does it?
What I'm saying is that we were talking about which member of our family is going to be able to see the year 2023 2021.
21, 20.
21, 20 what? What is it?
21, 22 would be 100 years from
Okay,
today.
21, 22.
21, 22.
Or the turn of the century, 21...
Yeah, 2100.
2100.
Yeah.
None of us will, not even you. 2100.
I would have to be 107 years
You're
old.
not going to be able to do it.
Oh, we don't
What I'm
know.
trying to tell you, my grandson, my great-grandson, we came to the conclusion he's the only one who's maybe able to see it because he's 3 years old now. So in order to see it, he has to live another 80 what?
80?
80,
Yeah, 78
81,
years.
88, 80,
78.
81 years old.
Yeah.
So he'll be 81, 82, 84 years old, whatever it might be. So he may be able to see that year, but not me, not you. Isn't it kind of sad? That's what I was telling you a while ago. Life is so short.
It's short, but I mean, like, hey, this is a pretty unique time in itself.
That's why we have to make the best of what we have and enjoy it and enjoy life and be a good person and enjoy at the moment that we're living in.
We got to follow the rules, right?
And follow some of the rules.
This lady's got an interesting rule, and I found this video. It's a teacher or a professor, and maybe you have an answer because she's talking about fruit. It's just no pomegranates. Maybe the second link because that first one might not show up. And we do want some audio. Oh, that's a puzzle for you, Mr. Cameron. So she's a professor, and let's get a little volume with your headphones there. Can you put on your headphones, Uncle Val?
What?
Can you, so you can hear what she's saying. And I don't know why. This is no context. It's no context of a video. And I'm just wondering why she'd be.
Say it. No pomegranates.
No pomegranates. No pomegranates. No pomegranates.
Come on.
No pomegranates.
No pomegranates. No pomegranates. No pomegranates. None. I don't want them anywhere near here.
Have you ever seen anyone so angry at pomegranates?
No.
I don't know. Let's see. She makes them say it again.
Say the rule again. No pomegranates. Say it.
No pomegranates.
Okay. So, have you ever heard of anyone being allergic to pomegranates?
No.
I don't understand. I've never had a professor that...
And we're not being very smart to be listening to something like that.
I just thought
You don't
maybe...
want to waste your time on something like that.
I was going to see, do you know of any pomegranate diseases? Should we be careful?
Pomegranate and what?
Like allergies or sicknesses that people get from them? The only thing I could think of, why would that be a rule? We were talking about, following the rules, and sometimes people make wacky rules that don't make sense.
Well,
So why?
society and all of it, we're constantly making new rules to apply to that particular time in life that you're living in. Like years ago, they probably had rules about horse and carriages, so they had rules about pitchforks or shovels. I don't know what. I remember when we were kids, when I was growing up, I grew up in a farm. My dad had all kinds of rules about the tractor and about this and that and the other, which do not apply to me anymore.
But did he ever have any rules that just didn't make sense that you knew, like, this doesn't need to be a rule?
I don't remember them, but some of them didn't make sense to me, but it made sense to my father, and he had the right to make the call. One time my dad gave me a whipping, and I thought it was cruel. I thought it was uncalled for. And I asked him one time, when I grew up, I was a man already, I said, Dad, do you remember when you whipped me that one time? He said, yeah, I remember. Why did you whip me? I mean, it's uncalled for. You were being cruel to me, and I didn't do anything wrong. So he says, well, you're making a judgment. He says, but I also made a judgment at that point, and it was my call to make as a parent and as your father. I made the call, and I whipped you, and that's it. But look at you now. You're a doctor. You're a TV star. You're this and that and the other. I made a man out of you. People don't realize that your parents is the basis of your life. My father used to say, and the older I get, the more I believe it. He said, if you have good parents, the closest thing to God on this earth is your parents.
What if they're bad people?
That's why if they're good. That's why I qualified it in the beginning.
okay.
If you have good parents,
Yeah, good parents. Okay.
if you have good parents, the closest thing to God on this earth is your parents.
I would say it's yourself. I'd say it's your own internal sense of consciousness.
Well,
that's the closest thing.
Your
to
conscious
the
is
source
God and within you. God lives within you because if you believe in God, that's your conscience. He tells you the right and wrong. If you go and you're going to do something wrong or you did it, your conscience will tell you.
I don't think everybody has that.
That's true because they killed it. I went to Walgreens the other day, and I was going to steal a magazine. I don't steal, and I try not to lie about anything. But because of the circumstances, I was going to steal a magazine. And when I came to walking out of the store with a magazine, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it because my conscience told me, you're doing the wrong thing, Mr. Val de la O. You're not supposed to be stealing. And that was my conscience. People say that your conscience is God. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. All I'm saying that an inner voice in me told me that I was wrong in trying to steal a magazine. So I didn't steal it. And that's a voice that we all hear within ourselves. Don't do it. Don't do it.
I don't know if we all have that voice. I think people have voices that tell them to do things that are bad.
Well, it's because they're out of their mind or something. But if you're a normal person under normal circumstances and you have had the right upbringing and you're not involved in drugs or some stuff that you're doing, I think that you will think that way.
I just think...
You know when you're doing right or wrong.
Yeah, but I mean, just saying that that's normal. I mean, just...
I did not say it was normal.
But just to say that is the normal way, I mean, that's not...
Well,
it's
a normal way in this particular instant. The time frame that you're living in, it's a normal thing.
A couple thousand years ago, it was normal for tribes to have orgies.
That's what I'm trying to tell you. In the time frame that you're living, we have things that are normal to us. But maybe a year from now, 100 years from now, they're not going to be normal. Like you were talking about, things that did somebody 100 years ago, we don't even do that anymore.
So do we keep redefining what is good and bad?
Exactly.
So does that mean there is no actual real good and bad? That we can just make it up as we go
It's good
along?
and bad for whatever we're doing, bad and good, in that particular frame. But you move on to something else as time progresses. Like Abraham Lincoln used to chop wood with an axe. How many times have you and I have chopped wood? I'm sure there's a good way and a bad way to chop wood. But we don't chop wood anymore.
Yeah, you're right. Well,
Hey, he didn't know anything about a podcast.
I'm trying to find a good way to wrap up the episode here. Cameron's right. We are hitting about that.
Just tell the people that we appreciate that they're listening to us if they are. And that we love the people. I love people. I really, really love people.
Do you?
Yeah, every day. I love people. When I get in my car and I drive out here, whatever, I enjoy the drive. I see the highways and the freeways, and I see.
Man, I'm the opposite. I get the hell out of my lane.
Oh no! I love people. I love people walking on.
Man, you're the guy that drives slow in front of me.
Oh no! I drive pretty fast. This morning I was doing about 80 miles and coming down the freeway.
What happened to not speeding?
Well, that's what I'm telling you. I'm a flawed human being. Who says that I'm perfect?
Nobody.
There was only one perfect fellow on this earth.
Yeah.
There's only one person that lived on this earth that was perfect.
And some say he didn't exist. Some say it was a mushroom.
You know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Shall we say it?
You can say it if you want. This is your episode. You get.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. Every sequential episode
in my
each
opinion,
guest that I have is
in my
be
humble opinion,
for the guest that's on the episode.
In my humble opinion, there was only one person that lived. You could call him a person who lived on this earth that was perfect, and that was our Lord Jesus Christ.
And if he's still alive, some people think maybe he's up in a spaceship. How could he be up there?
He doesn't need a spaceship. He's God.
Why wouldn't he use a spaceship?
Because he doesn't need it. Are you going to use something if you don't need it?
I guess, yeah. We got paper and pens here. We're not really using them.
Why are you wearing a T-shirt?
You're right.
Because you need it. I don't want to.
For the time being,
I don't want to see your body.
Neither do I,
and it's
trust
also
me.
keeping you warm.
To be honest, I've been freezing this entire episode.
And not
'cause of
only
ice
that,
bath.
but that's a rule of society. People don't want to see you necessarily naked.
Yeah, there are designated places where people can do that, yeah.
I know they do it, but wow, we and I get into these weird things.
Yeah, it's all about perspective.
Is it because we're weird or what?
No, it's just the way
You know,
we
it's
are here.
nice to get into these ideas because it expands your, what's the word? It expands your
Range of thought.
range of thought. And that's why I tell people to travel, because when you go into another culture, you go to places like China, like Nepal, like Vietnam, or wherever the case might be, you expand your knowledge, you expand, and a lot of the things that you thought are right, maybe are not necessarily right. I like to see programs like that, especially on TV, and people cooking different ways or different foods or whatever the case might be. You learn, and you expand your thoughts.
So
Are we going to leave or we're going to stay here?
We're gonna, we can definitely check out now.
I'm Val de la O, folks, and if you heard the things that we talked about today, and if you like this thing, please tell your friends, Val de la O and Tyler de la O, and because we enjoy doing these things. I really do.
It's very fun.
It gives me a chance to expand my legacy.
And if you're my age and you've got an uncle or a grandpa, go visit them. Go do something. Talk to they got these stories that blow your mind.
You want to learn something? Hang around with an older person. You'd be surprised. And if you want to feel young, hang around with a young person, because we all have value. And if we have value, that's the bad thing that I see about getting old. The older you get, the less value people put on you. They think you're not valuable. You become irrelevant.
That's not. I don't think that's human nature. I think that is our current system of government and economics has been built to milk people for their labor and then out the door when they're done with them.
You may be right.
I don't think that's the way humans should be.
I notice as I've gotten older, the older I get, the more irrelevant I become, particularly to my family. They don't seek your advice anymore. They don't visit you anymore. And if they do, they stay 10, 15 minutes and they leave. If they only knew what's in this head of mine as an old person, all the experiences, all the advice I could give them, but they don't.
They will after the podcast, hopefully. It'll be
so that's one of the reasons to listen to the podcast.
Yeah.
Folks, listen to this podcast and you will enjoy it.
And pay attention to cryptocurrencies and NFTs because they are not going away. It's going to be a very, very big
finally,
thing.
How can I get a hold of this podcast?
Description below. The name Riches and Rags Podcast. My name is Tyler Delao, Delao. You can type that next to Riches and Rags, and you'll find us anywhere on Google, anywhere on YouTube.
Oh, Val de la O, and you can do the same thing. And you'll find us there, and maybe you will enjoy this thing. And if you do, tell your friends.
Yeah, reach out to us. We could use talking points. We could use videos if you want to send them in, questions on advice. Or if you want to ridicule us, if you want to roast me, send in your worst. I dare you.
You can say anything to us that you want to. We're not too sensitive.
No.
Because right now I'm going to eat my avocado and my banana.
It's a good shot. Have a good day, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Thanks
God bless all of you.
Ahora, a este político yo no le entendí ni cuando dijo lo que iba a decir, y menos cuando lo dijo, y mucho menos cuando dijo lo que había dicho. A ver si ustedes le entienden a el político tartamudo.
Mis apurables compitas, mis apreciables compitas, no se sientan defraudados, pues yo sé que están desfundados de calor, infundados de valor, y que seguirán la trucha, digo, con la lucha, para que yo siga como colección, digo, con la elección, porque como ustedes saben, todos los votos son impotentes, digo que todos los votos son importantes, sí señor, tú eres importante, y tú, y solamente tú, y tú, pero me gustas, tú, sí. Yo agradezco a todos los felinos, digo, a todos los fulanos, por darme su pollo, digo, su repollo, digo, su apoyo. Y les prometo hacerme dueño de todo lo que hay en la caja, en la paja. Digo, que yo haré posible todos sus sueños y no me rajo, no señor. Recuerden que mi destino es velar por ustedes, los exprimidos de cerebro, digo, los oprimidos de mi pueblo, para que tengan un cantor seguro, digo, un mejor futuro. Yo me siento comprimido y muy asado. Digo, que yo me siento incomprendido y muy usado. Pues siempre que llego a la discoteca, digo, a la discoteca, creen que soy un trastero. Digo, que creen que soy un forastero y me hacen sentirme como un charco sin limón. Digo, como un barco sin timón. Yo vengo de Marte con un tumor en la cabeza. Digo que por mi parte pelaré con sudor, digo que pelearé con furor por la pobreza. Pues yo soy un político poco bruto, digo, poco abrupto, digo, quiero decir, muy astuto, sí señor. Y me oculto todas sus necedades, digo, que me ocupo de todas sus necesidades. No hay que ser vengativos, porque la sopa de ajo caliente no le gusta a mi abuelo. Digo que eso de ajo, de ojo por ojo y diente por diente, no es muy bueno, no señor. Hoy me dirijo a las mujeres de bares, digo, a las mujeres de hogares, para que me visiten en mi cabaña a pelar mi liebre, digo, a calmar mi fiebre, digo, para que se me ayuden en mi campaña como han trabajado siempre. Son tantas las güeras que quisiera descubrir, pero mi mujer no me deja. Digo que son tantos los temas que quisiera cubrir, pero el tiempo es mi problema. Muchos critican mi apariencia y aún más mi coyote, mi bigote. Pero amigos, este bigote tiene su ventaja, pues cada vez que beso a mi vieja, le cepillo los dientes, ¿sí señor? Mañana quiero que vengan temprano para que me ayuden a ponerme un supositorio. Quiero que vengan temprano para que escuchen lo que propongo para la gente en el auditorio. Sí, señor. Quiero tener siempre mi cartera completa porque soy muy viajero. Quiero tener las carreteras bien compuestas para todos los viajeros. Sí, mis ciudadanos, lo que he expresado es de un menso. Digo que conmigo tendrán un futuro más inmenso. Y si me eligen, me llenaré los costales. Que si me eligen, yo dirigiré sus ciudades y capitales. He dicho.